Hi, I'm Kelly Thomas. Welcome to Ingenious Baby. Every week I'll interview leading experts to help you help your child reach their full potential so that your child can become all that they were born to be.
Welcome to this baby.
What is the key to raising a brilliant child? Today we're here with Dr. Kathy Hirsh-Pasek, a psychologist at Temple University and author of more than 14 books, including Becoming Brilliant: What Science Tells Us About Raising Successful Children. She'll tell us what skills our children will need to become successful adults and provide parents with practical tips they can use to help develop them. Kathy, thank you so much for being here.
It is a pleasure.
Why did you write this book now?
I wrote this book now because there is a huge rift between what we know in the science of learning and what we are doing with our children. And we all want to have kids who are successful and who are bright and who are happy. And yet what we're doing is we're getting so fearful that sometimes we're turning our children into little robots who have to sit and memorize things rather than really getting a love for what learning and social skills are all about.
So what is a brilliant kid? What do you define as a successful child?
I am so glad you asked. I think most of us would agree on what counts as a successful child. I mean, as a mom, I wanted my kids to be happy, to be healthy, to be thinking, to be caring, not the kids who would shut the door in the face of someone, to be collaborative. And we wanted them to grow up to also be creative and competent, critical thinkers, and responsible citizens for tomorrow. And every time I ask a parent, is this what you want for your child? They all go, well, of course, we want them to be smart, but we want them to be nice too. And what we hear on the other side is that maybe brilliance is just about doing great in mathematics and in reading and in your science scores. Yes, that's true. We want our children to do well in school, but it's not all there is.
So what are the skills that they actually need then to be successful?
You will not believe the first one, getting along with other people. Kind of shocking, right?
So everyone focuses on IQ, or being academically smart.
No, exactly. And it turns out that if you don't know how to get along with other people, to build communities, and you don't have the social skills to stop yourself before you do something stupid, that you're not ever going to build the skills that you need to do well in that classroom. So our first skill is collaboration, getting along with others. Built on that, communication, that back and forth, learning how to write, learning how to listen, something we don't do so well in our society today. And built on that, your ability to read and speak is content. All the stuff that you're looking at when you look at reading and writing and arithmetic. And then we move from content to critical thinking. Too much information out there right now. Gotta know how to sift through it. Creative innovation, taking the information, using it in new ways. And the confidence to take those intellectual risks, to have an opinion. So that's what we call the 6 C's that we think really define the future of success for our children.
So in your book, you do talk about opportunities for grandparents and parents and caregivers to sort of help them facilitate those skills. Can you give a couple of examples of that?
Oh, I sure can. Let me give you one that just happened a couple weeks ago with I'm going to tell you, it's my 2-year-old granddaughter. And she became fascinated with shadows and wanted to chase her shadow everywhere. So we were walking in a forest kind of trail, and I asked her if she could find her shadow. Now, in a forest, the shadows come and the shadows go. And of course, it all depends on whether you have light that's seeping through the trees so that you can find your shadow. So I said to Ellie, let's look and see if we can find out when the shadows come and when the shadows go. And then I showed her the sunlight, and I said, can you make a prediction as to when you'll see the next shadow? Now, prediction is a long word for a 2-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
But they started making predictions. And yes, she could. So you'd be surprised at what little kids can tell you.
There's a lot of ways that the parents can help cultivate things at home that improve their academic success in school.
It is everywhere. And when you think about it, if you do a mural together in school, for example, as opposed to painting at the independent places, wow, all of a sudden you're a collaborator. If we don't care that the artwork that comes back from our children's school looks perfect, then the teachers become less likely to just give us cut up apples to put on pre-made trees for the month of October. All of a sudden, we can make it look like what we want it to look like and can explain it to our parents. And if our parents praise our effort and not just the grade we get, then we have more confidence to try something new. And when we have that confidence, we can be the discoverers and explorers and entrepreneurs in the world around us.
That's such an important skill.
Right.
So tell us how important really is preschool.
I will tell you that I think today, since a lot of kids are going to some form of preschool, it's becoming more and more important because you don't have the kids next door to play with. They're probably in preschool. And I think a large proportion of kids today, I think it's well over 50%. I don't know the exact numbers, but I don't know why I'm thinking in the 60s, are in some sort of preschool. Look, you learn a lot when you're with other kids. You learn that everything isn't yours. You learn that an adult's not going to be in your face every moment. You learn that you have to try things out on your own to make them work. And you know that there are rules and boundaries that sometimes you just have to abide by, and that your parents aren't the ones who rule the kingdom. I think these are pretty important collaboration, moments in your life, lessons.
Are they all the same? Are there certain things you should look for in it when you are looking at preschools?
Let me give you a tweet. Children learn best when they are active, when they are engaged with the material, when it's meaningful to them, when they are socially interactive, and when there's a learning goal. That's when they learn best. So look for those environments.
A big part of your book is to get parents or people caring for the children to kind of supplement what is going on in school. Is there anything else that you would recommend for that preschool age they should be doing to help outside of school? Other than
I think the outside of school is actually really important, and we don't give it enough credit. 20% of a child's waking time is in school. That means 80% of their waking time is out of school. Now, I want us to think about that. 80% of your child's waking time is out of school. Now, you're in Marin County, so I know that your parents are going to rush to do the calculations. But we have checked this. There's summertime, right? There's nighttime when they get home from school. There's weekends. When you put all of that in the mix, 80% of your child's time, waking time, is out of school. So my question back to parents is, what are we doing with it? And a lot of our parents will answer that they're parking their children in front of apps. And that is a big deal because there are 120,000 so-called educational apps for preschoolers on the market right now.
Wow, 120,000.
Right?
Wow, yeah.
Let's look for a couple good ones. I don't mind Electronic Age. It's pretty cool. But we don't need to park our children. Our children can go in the backyard and they're fine. Yeah, you should watch them. Someone should watch them. But they're going to be fine. They can play with construction toys. Would you believe that playing with blocks, playing with those train sets, and all different sorts today, you have the magnet blocks, you have the wooden blocks, you have the Lego blocks. Would you believe that that's building STEM? Now, we never think about it, but it turns out that and our ability to control ourselves socially together, they control for 78% of what you're going to look like when you enter school in the math domain and STEM domain. Oh my gosh. Are we taking time to tell stories and let our children tell stories? Oh, sometimes they might not be great stories, but even 2-year-olds have something to tell you about their day, and read books before you go to bed. And let your children help you, if you dare, in the kitchen when you're preparing for dinner. That's a chemistry experiment. So use our time wisely and let our kids have a little time to play with the forts and building things out of pillows, because they love it and they learn from it.
What do you think some of the biggest mistakes that parents make with raising their young children in their early years?
Yeah, that's a tough question for me, because I don't think parents really make mistakes. I think sometimes we don't see all the potential, but that's not a mistake. It just means that we need to be more wide-eyed and look at the world a little bit from the child's point of view. There is one thing I would caution parents about, and I now have this study to also speak to it, and that is that we are sometimes occupied ourselves with the constant text messages that come in, with the constant phone messages that we feel we need to listen to, with the emails that seem to be pounding us and that we're almost addicted to. Our children notice when we aren't looking in their eyes, and they don't get as much from us. In a study that we just ran, we looked at cell phone messages, and I had wonderful parents teach their kids 2 words. The kids were 2 years of age. And in one of the words, I interrupted them with a cell phone call. And in another, I did. This was done by my former student, Jessa Reed. And the question I asked is, do children learn just as much from the parent when the parent is interrupted? I gave them just as much time in both conditions. And the parent gives them their undivided attention. And the answer was that they only really paid attention and learned from the parent and heard what the parent said when that cell phone was put away. So this is not just about what our kids are doing. It's also about what we are doing and how we occupy our time. So I caution all of us, 5 minutes a day. Take 5 minutes a day. Put your cell phone away. Hide it. And look into the eyes of your child. I don't care if your child's an adolescent or your child's a 4-year-old. I can't tell you how much I notice it personally when my teenagers used to look down, pretending I wouldn't see that they were trying to get a text message. It doesn't help communication, it hinders it. And the most important thing you have with your kid is a relationship.
Yes. What is the biggest takeaway that you want people to take from your book?
Biggest takeaway is that success is not built around the narrow confines of our memorizing our math tables and learning or memorizing our poetry. It's built up from a whole host of skills that are the skills we need in the 21st century to succeed. Collaboration, communication, content's there, but only one. Critical thinking skills, creative innovation, and also the confidence to pull it off. If we want our children to succeed in a world that is filled with information, where you and I read the equivalent of 74 newspapers a day, then we must prepare them to learn and to love learning. And these are not soft skills. They're the foundation for all learning that will come through a lifetime.
For more information about your research and work, where can people go?
Well, that's a great question. So we have a Twitter account, which is Kathy, Kathy, and Rowe, RO1. And we do tweet out the latest research when we find it from all over, so parents can be kept, right up to the last minute of what's happening.
Thank you so much for being here and sharing all of your knowledge and giving us really great tips to help us with our own children. I really appreciate you coming on the show today.
Well, thank you so much. And I'll be out in the Bay Area giving a talk in March with the Bay Area Discovery Museum which is a museum I love, love, love. Would love to see any parents who want to come to the talk.
If you know someone who'd be a great fit for the show, come on over to ingeniusbaby.com and share your tips and story ideas. You are your baby's first and best teacher.